So for about the last year, I've noticed a growing trend amongst the NASCAR fan base. That being that we just need to wait out the tough times right now with the Gen 6 because the Gen 7 is coming soon. And while that's a nice thought and all, I really think it's naive and frankly wrong to think that way. And this is from someone who can't wait to get away from the Gen 6 car. But there's a few roadblocks and warning signs on both the sport and the planning of the car itself that stand in the way of this. Starting with the Gen 7 car first. The biggest worry I have is the fact that NASCAR may rush it up too quickly. Recently on the NASCAR Weekly podcast, we spoke with Jeff Gluck, and we asked him about the Gen 7 car and the planning for it. And he at the time had said that NASCAR had just begun to talk with the teams about planning the Gen 7 car. This was right after the 2019 Daytona 500. Now, mind you, this wasn't designing a prototype or even a definitive plan being discussed, just the beginning of plans. This is really worrying. People high up in NASCAR like Steve Phelps and Steve O'Donnell have continuously said that 2021 is the goal for the Gen 7. And over the past few months, it seems like that stance is only solidified. After the disasters of the car tomorrow in Gen 6, NASCAR needs to slow down and get this right. But with less than 2 years to design, build, and test cars, as well as give teams the ample amount of time to buy equipment and test for themselves, it seems like history may be repeating itself. While the COT wasn't the greatest car for racing, the sanctioning body still took time for it, about 5 or 6 years before they saw it fit. And with the COT, there was testing in late 2004 and early 2005, over 2 years before the car debuted at Bristol. The Gen 6 was in design from early 2010 and testing by 2011. While fans didn't like either of those cars' racing product, they still had a right amount of time, especially the COT, put into them. If NASCAR doesn't perfect the Gen 7 or push its release back to 2022 or 2023, then I think we may be in for a decade-defining disappointment. But what if the car is a success and we see the great racing reminiscent of the early 2000s on back? While I think it would please the majority of the sport's core fans, and I think it'd be a great step towards returning to NASCAR's former greatness, I don't think we'd be out of the woods just yet. When looking back in time at the introduction of each of the past 3 generations of race cars, we see 3 different stories in viewership. When the 4th generation was introduced, the ratings and attendance went up, but it was part of the popularity wave that NASCAR was riding at the time. The COT saw an initial decrease in viewership in 2007 before an increase for the first half of 2008, leading into continuous decreases again. And the Gen 6 saw flatlining in 2013 before sharp decreases in viewership and attendance, even with the great racing we saw in 2014 and 2016. So as our reference looking back to history, it really shows no correlation between viewership and the new car's introductions. And that's the problem. That's the problem in thinking. Having a new car hasn't directly created growth in the sport before, so why would it suddenly start doing this now? Trust me, I hope I'm proven wrong, but as of now, this mindset just seems foolish to me. NASCAR has plenty of other issues and problems that have led to where it is now, and they need to be addressed. We have a divisive championship format that splits both fans inside the sport as well as people from the outside looking in. We have a continuous lack of true driver accessibility compared to the standards that NASCAR fans have been used to. If you want to see where I think NASCAR should be headed with that, look towards the NHRA, where a fan can literally walk right up to 16-time champion John Force and get a picture and autograph. On top of those points, NASCAR is an archaic business model in need of fixing, as well as a fan base that can never really be pleased. So again, while the Gen 7 can be a great start, it's not going to be what will return NASCAR to its former glory. But what do you think? Am I wrong here? Will the Gen 7 truly be what will fix the sport? Or is it only one of many steps? Let me know down below, and until next time, have a good one.